My Gavanen Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arachir Galadirthan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to my general channel, but also welcome to the first Soulstorm video I have done in quite a long time. I would like my channel to return to at least 4 videos a week despite how busy I am, and I'm going to kick that off with this wonderful Soulstorm game, partially just as a point of reference, so that when I get berated by my friends in Discord later on, I can say, but remember that time I uploaded the Soulstorm video? And you'll see for why later. But obviously, in the past, I used to try and do lots of different videos rather than just DAC. And there was always a slot each week that was a wildfire video, and it would be anything. Often Age of Empires, sometimes Soulstorm. Heroes of Might and Magic made it in there. It was Skyrim at one point. All different things. And Soulstorm, I absolutely bloody love. And so I'm pleased to present one to you. We also often play this. Now, I should state that we are using the Titanium Wars mod. And if you wish to actually download and play this game with us, you'll need to download the Titanium Wars mod through the Discord link, and then people there will be able to help you, because your only other way to download Titanium Wars nowadays is to get it off of a Russian website, which whereas I've done that legwork for you, and if you just head to the Discord, you can download it there. You also, unfortunately, Soulstorm now requires, again, a large address aware patch, but we can talk about it freely without any fear this time. Anyway, if you enjoy Soulstorm, you're looking for people to play with, we play it. Links in the head to the Discord and join in with us there. So, I've got it onto low speed. Let's cycle through the teams. It's a 4v4. I'm not player 1 for once, which is very nice. Here I am in the north as the Imperial Guard with my custom faction, the 247th Praesidius Secundus Regiment. They have the Swan banners dropping in there. Wait until we capture a point. You'll love it. To my north and supporting me is Matt, who is a very, very skilled strategy player, I'm led to believe, certainly in Age of Empires. And when I've played Age of Empires with him, he has indeed left me in the dirt. But he's relatively new to Warhammer, so he was kind of experiencing and playing around with the Guard. This is one of the first times I think he's ever played. So, but he is also the Guard. Further away on the western side, forming our 2-man team over here, is Wraith Walker playing as Chaos. Wraith Walker is very, very good at Soulstorm, and he's one of the best. So he's our anchor on the western side, and supporting him, but as the Space Marines, is Super Ginge, who's one of the highest ranking members of the Discord, and a competent player. Now, on the opposing team, unfortunately a much simpler colour to see. The red stands out more on the white background, I find. Playing as the the Witch Hunters, sorry, as they are known in Titanium Wars, which is the Sisters of Battle with some Inquisition units tacked on, is Malekith. Now, Malekith is also a good strategy player, but relatively... He's not new to Soulstorm, but he, by his own admission, says he's not the game's best player. We all went random, I believe, or he might have actually chosen these. It's widely believed at the moment in Titanium Wars, or in the version certainly we use, that the Sisters of Battle are one of the worst factions. Even with the changes they've had, they just can't really clinch it. Now, further south supporting him is Booguy, who's playing as the Eldar, as you can see. Booguy plays Soulstorm a reasonable amount as well, but we haven't played with him for quite a while, and I couldn't quite remember what his skill level was, so we'll just have to wait and see. Further around, their third player is Chris. Now, Chris is the Discord's best player, absolutely hands down, in terms of Soulstorm, and he's playing as his also best nation, Chaos. So this is the one to watch out for, unfortunately. And he's there in the south. I play an awful lot of games with Chris nowadays. And then finally over here is Silver. Silver is incredibly good at Age of Empires, and brings that skill over into Soulstorm. And so he's quite good over here. Now, if you're wondering why he has a horrible hot pink colour, it is because he knows that I absolutely hate it, and that is reason enough for him to have chosen it. I like people to play the game semi-role-playing-esque, and choosing colours that are accurate, as it were. I mean, I appreciate my swan symbol isn't, but beyond that, look at my awesome banner. Custom banner! But he's playing as the guard. Right, I knew that he would try and sentinel rush me because scout sentinel rushing is one of the guard's best tactics. And I know that turrets don't stop scout sentinel rushes. But what they do is vehicles can't get past them in this little gap here. So I rushed here to put these turrets down just to stop his sentinels getting through. I moved up my own sentinel to support and it begins. I will do my best to flick between the various players and nations as the game goes on, but of course I experience the game from my own point of view, and that's the best point of view I can give you. Stupid phone. What word in that sentence sounded like high Bixby? Jesus. Samsung's thing is way too sensitive. So in the south end, Silver and I have already met. I'm popping up some turrets, and he's sending his scout sentinels off to try and bother someone else. Now, the map is obviously these kind of 3 plateaus in the middle. And to him to get to my base without going there, he's got to climb all the way up here, come down over there, and then curl all the way around from the north. Or go up here, walk around the plateau, and come in from the side, where my scout sentinels moved off to then cover. Now, Chris playing as Chaos, one of the things that he does better than almost anyone else, or one of the things that he's just got down to a fine art, is rushing with a Chaos Predator. And he's very keen on doing that. So you will probably see one in just a moment. Silver's gone to try and just turret up the gap while he can, and I've moved my scout sentinels in there to try and drop him.
Holding it will be hard.
On the northern side, though, Super Ginge adopting his most preferred tactic, which is to stealth his scout marines as soon as possible and then rush in and try and distress the enemy. And Wraith just kind of capturing points and moving out and preparing his armies. Other than that, though, it's obviously just the early game. We can go to the next speed, click through. Scout Sentinels just dropping those turrets. Chris moving off to claim a relic. Oh, you can only cycle through, that's annoying. And there we are. Chris's first Chaos Predator is already out. It makes absolute mincemeat of my turrets. My conscripts go down like they're made of butter. Or more accurately, like they are conscripts. And so we now begin a panic, if you will, to try and counter the Chaos Predator. Infantry commands, that's the way forward. Turrets are not going to do anything now. I'm already taking up to the next tier so that I can get vehicles out. Well, bloody hell, Mats has already made it to the highest possible tier. Good lord. He's run straight for that. So the Guard get their technology by increasing their headquarters. Some nations get their boosted technology by researching certain things, such as the Tau, or building buildings, which also the Tau is also a method of the Tau. Whereas the Guard getting better technology simply by upgrading their field command and then upgrading it to the 3rd tier, and then from then on you can get the war. Can't remember what it's called. The final upgrade. Right, as you can note, Chris has now also supplemented his Chaos Predator with a Defiler. We are 5 minutes in and he's got a Predator and a Defiler knocking on my door. This is pretty much why Chris has a feared reputation, because no one would ever be able to 1v1 him as a Chaos. Because unfortunately, unless there are any skilled and experienced Soulstorm players out there who know how within 5 minutes, or not even that, I mean, when did that Chaos Predator rock up? Who know how to counter this. Now, do know, obviously, he's making mincemeat of my infantry commands here. I have pulled back and I'm building another one, and the reason I'm building the infantry command is because I get a dedicated anti-tank unit that I'm trying to get out. But you'll note that at this point he turns around, and in post-battle discussions it was found that he did that on purpose, because if those of you that don't know, Soulstorm, Wraithwalker has his own Chaos Predator there as well, and he's keeping the Eldar on their toes. But Soulstorm, unfortunately, in 2018, runs like garbage, and it crashes so much when you're trying to set up multiplayer games. Now, it doesn't often crash once the game is underway, but it crashes at the beginning when you load into the game all the time. And we frequently have to go through 30 minutes worth of just trying to get a game to work before it actually does. And so with that in mind, Chris felt that after having sat in the lobby for 25 minutes, he didn't want to ruin the first game by just basically beating me after 5 minutes. And I happily hold my hands up and say that he would have beaten me. My anti-tank heavy weapon team would have been decimated by the Defiler that he has supporting his Predator, and they never would have been able to get enough shots off to stop that Predator. So he pulls back for that reason. Let's get rid of those. So, given that I had a little bit of extra time there, I moved the Scout Sentinels onto the ridge to start shooting the Predator, and I called Mats for aid, and the cavalry cometh. Mats bringing an Age of Empires mentality to the game, which also Silver does, as you'll note as we move on later. And of course, in Age of Empires, as you get into the later stages of the game, basically everyone just drops as many barracks as possible. You creep your base towards the enemy base. It seems to be the only tactic anyone ever uses in the elite/skilled/pro arena. And he's bringing that same mentality here. How many mechanized commands can I drop near the enemy line? Although, of course, it saves me. But I'm interested to note how he's gotten so much money without having to do out. He's got these cost 200. I know that because I play as the guard so much. They cost 200 requisition. He's got 4 of them. That's 800 straight off the bat. He's then been able to upgrade them to build Hellhounds, which is 50 each. So let's say he's done 3 of those with Hellhounds, that's 150. And then the Hellhounds themselves are 150. So we're talking insane amounts of recce, and I don't know how he's already managed it. Silver has got his Basilisk cannons up, and they're using their hellish long range, are supporting and dropping the army that he sent in to assist me. But I managed to get the anti-tank units up, and they get some shots off. But as I say, the Defiler then just disrupts everything. And every time they get thrown away, they have to set up again, and it just takes ages. But we do bring down the Predator. And then the Basilisks start dropping in support. I've got my own mechanized commands up, and they're building our own Basilisk command. On the northern side, Supergin's still just thinking that the Scout Marines with Plasma actually does anything. And yes, I say that with complete derision, Supergin. It's a stupid tactic, and it costs you time and money to waste getting the armory first, then getting them stealth. And all the time that you're focusing on them, you aren't focusing on your base, which is why the enemy has made it to that relic, despite the fact that they're witch hunters. Whereas with a combined assault with your troops and Wraith troops, we'll be able to take that relic. Now over on our side, Silver has actually pushed up right to our base and is going with the main tactic that he often utilises, which is to creep turrets towards the enemy. As I say, he's got that Age of Empires mentality, which means let me creep buildings towards you and see how well I can do it. And apparently I'm running my anti-tank weapon teams into their deaths there. I don't know what I was thinking. I must not have been looking at that moment. But they get massacred. They are literally just running to their deaths. No idea why I was rushing them off after the Basilisks when the turrets were there. But oh well. Anyway, our own Basilisk command goes up and starts shredding their Basilisks, keeping them on their toes. Of course, Basilisks can fire back at Basilisks. Whenever an artillery unit shoots, it briefly shows itself to every unit on the map. And then other Basilisks can then target it. And so with that in mind, and given that a Basilisk war is the most boring thing in the world, you try to repair them, you can't, and it becomes down to which ones get the RNG in their favour. So I set them to not shoot anything, which is an option you can do, and I moved them over here to essentially hide them until I needed them. Because at the moment they're not imperative. Mats has arrived now with Lehman Russes, named of course after the famed Primarch himself. And he is now pushing Silver out. On that northern side, as I say, Super Ginger's Space Marines are just sitting doing nothing, while Wraith is getting hammered by a combined assault of Chris with his Predator and his Defiler, and Malekith's Sisters of Battle. Holy Maidens of the God Emperor's Divine Wrath. Or absolutely garbage infantry units that the game pretends they're actually any good. Wraithwalker is forced to retreat as he is fighting 3 enemies, while the Space Marines still just sit around doing sod all. Now, of course, I'm not particularly doing anything, and I'm being particularly hard on Ginge, and it's only because I know Ginge quite well, and if he watches this and hears it, he can take it. And he'll appreciate watching it back with the value of hindsight. He should probably have done more when Wraith was being attacked by 3 enemies. I don't even know what he's done. He's moved a Space Marine into his machine cult, and then he's got the other two just standing next to it. All while the enemy gaily walks towards us, skipping and singing along through the meadow of flowers that they're proverbially that they are doing. Right, I'm able to actually support on the southern side with Hydra anti-air tanks. Despite the fact that they're anti-air tanks, they're actually monsters against anything on the ground. They have an insane range for the type of unit that they are. And their 4 autocannons decimate infantry and do a really good job at bringing down vehicles too. So I've got those out for defense. With the Basilisks in support now, I'm not so worried about Silver's attacks. And Chris has gone north and to make it 3-on-2 up there, but we don't really have the strength to push. Although we do. This is the problem, as I say, with hindsight. At the moment, we've got 3 Lehman Russes, 2 Hydras, and 4 Basilisks. We could push Silver, and we would take a lot of his troops out because Chris is focusing on obviously on the north at the moment. Although, obviously, as you've just seen there, we wouldn't have seen this, but Chris is actually preparing a secondary army, so he would have dropped in to support Silver. But Wraith is now getting hammered on that northern side. An Eldritch Storm, I believe that is called, that is sending his units flying, keeping them on their toes. And only now does Super Ginger actually drop troops in. When the enemy finally makes it to the base. Although, in his defense, his troops do actually turn the tide there. And Chris Wraith drops a Predator on that side, supported by the Space Marines. And they kill the invading army. So the north is not lost. Super Ginger arrives actually at the opportune moment. Only to then be bloody harassed by Silver's Basilisk cannons, which he has moved right up to the front line. They look so good when they have their artillery cannon up like that, don't they? I mean, they look utterly garbage in that hot pink colour, but there we are, you can't win them all. They look far nicer in the grey and red of Praesidius Secundus. I use the Basilisk to start bringing down the turrets so that the Lehman Russers can get through. And the Hydras are also dropping support in there as well. I've got a secondary field command up. It's always good to have 2. I'm also now in the 3rd tier, which means I too could get Lehman Russers soon. I don't know if it's Russ or Russ. My coming from Tolkien, where almost every U is pronounced as an OO, regardless of whether it wants to be or not. It makes me want to say... well, not fully Rus, but it makes me want to say Russ rather than Russ. But I'm not really too sure, and I don't think it really matters. So, they seem to have gone with a tactic whereby all 4 of them are attacking on the northern side, whilst Mats and I press in on this southern side. Mats has got his own Basilisk cannons there, firing from his base as well. Looking quite nice in his white and red, although that's not a custom scheme, he just chose whichever it gave him. And the priests have come because the Cassacrin elite squads are coming out. I use Cassacrins as kind of well, as like SAS troops. I drop them on key locations, give them the priest's ability to be invulnerable for a short time, and then beat whatever I've just arrived at. Mats is supplementing his Lehman Russers with guardsmen. That's a perfect image of the guard there, isn't it? Guardsmen running alongside Russ tanks. Now we do push in. Oh, and someone's just given someone money. Oh, Mats has given me 450 rec. I really don't get how he's got so much requisition. Requisition is shared in this game, so everyone on your team gets the benefit of everyone's resource points. And yet he seems to have just been dwarfing me from the outset. So it's not like he's managed to get more villagers up than me and build farms quicker or anything like that. I just don't get it. We are absolutely doing a number on Silver, and he must have, I imagine, requested support from his team, as 4 Russes, 2 Guards, and Hydras and Basilisks all started rocking up on his base. And so the other team do move in. The Eldar come over to assist, with Wraith Lords and Fire Dragons in there. Oh, and there's Chris's Chaos units in there as well. And then, good God, the Basilisks just shred them. Basilisk cannons on attack ground there, killing everything. I was trying to take out Silver's field command with the Basilisk cannons. Silver, as you can see, the enemy is coming, so he's adopted his standard strategy of can I build as many turrets as possible before they arrive at my base. But by the time it takes us to move just from there to there, Chris has arrived with Chaos, Boogai has come through with the Eldar, And Boo Guy's also sending an insurrection into our base there. Now I've put, however, my units into the mechanized command, which makes it act as then a standalone turret, which is why it's shooting plasma and lasgun fire. But also Mats has got a Bane Blade out because he has the relic. All my Basilisk cannons were firing on nothing again there, so just changing them back to actually doing something. But with the combined arms of Silvers, Russes, Chaos Predators, Wraith, basically again 3 against 2. They beat our Rus tanks. They move in on my Hydras, and my base and army starts going down. But we've got a base ready here, and of course we've got the Bane Blade now. Now, while all of this is going on, Super Ginge is dropping in on Malekith's base, although he's dropped in not on the actual base, but on the listening post just in front of it. Chris has dropped his own troops in to support, so Wraith is coming creeping up the hill, but Ginge just doesn't have enough troops to drop in there. If he dropped in with Wraith Guy and done a slow push, it might have worked better. But I can't, again, comment on that because I frequently drop in on enemy bases expecting to do loads of damage and do nothing. Silver's Lehman Russ is getting each other's way, and the Bane Blade makes short work of them with support of the Basilisk cannons. Baneblade is an utter monster. My mechanized commands then are also training and preparing to send out Lehman Russes to the front line. Mats moves up mechanized commands as well. He's now got 6 mechanized commands just on that lower tier alone. 1 in his base and 2 on the line of the enemy's base. Madness. He sent me more requisition. Boo Guy has managed to move troops over to support Malekith. And the attack of Wraith Guy and Ginge gets defeated up there in the carnage and the chaos. The army goes down, and even more Eldar coming in from the side. And so now my 2 allies up in the north there have got no troops, and the enemy has just won that battle. So they might well press on this, but as you can see, we're only halfway through the recording, so they don't win yet. And they may not even win. Stay tuned. Right, in an attempt to try and counter the enemy vehicles, I'm getting anti-tank squads out. Basilisk cannons returning to just trying to drop the field command. The reason I'm trying to drop the field command is because, as the Imperial Guard, because your higher tier tech units come from an upgraded building, if you suddenly lose your tier 3 field command, you lose all tier 3 and tier 2 options. So if he hasn't built a Baneblade factory, for example, he then won't be able to build one. If he hasn't trained certain troops, they then become unavailable. It's quite useful. Chaos Predator is showing the Rus battle tank that it is quite handy at going 3 against 1 and taking one of them out. There's my Cassacrin squads. And here's my Lehman Rus gathering. Looking wonderful in that black and or grey and red, aren't they? They're looking absolutely splendid. With a swan adorned on each man's shoulder. There it is, on the sergeant's shoulder. Sorry, I really like that. Right, here we go. The Eldar are moving in. Silver is dropping troops in with Valkyrie command. Wraith's turrets are working overtime. Chris has dropped troops in. He loves dropping those Defilers and Predators in. That's so annoying that they can just teleport those units in. Silver has sent his own anti-tank teams in. Now, the Eldar here split their force, and I would argue this is possibly what causes the disruption here. But then my own Guardsmen drop in. Guardsmen I'd been training up on the hill in preparation. They drop in, and they just do enough to disrupt the enemy. Presidius Secundus will not sit out this fight. We will stand and show the world why we are the Emperor's chosen. The Space Marines managed to take down the Eldar that moved up toward them, and his Predators curve in from the side. My Guardsmen die, but not before taking down some troops. And that gives Wraith and Ginge enough time to push in. Mats is currently rebuilding his army, but his Basilisks, of course, are providing support. As an Imperial Guard player, even when you're not actively focusing on where the attention is, 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.5 times out of 10, your Basilisk cannons are assisting your allies in one way or another. Right, in the Maelstrom as well, I dropped all of my anti-tank teams up on behind Silver's base in an attempt to disrupt his buildings. But these anti-tank teams take so long to bring down tanks that Chris has managed to get Terminators and whatnot in. But I was hoping to just draw his attention while our tanks pressed in the entrance and send troops in the back. And we took down the Chaos Predator, we took down a couple of power plants. But nothing amazing again. But I mean, if they hadn't perchance have noticed that our army had dropped in there, then we would have done a hell of a lot of damage before the end was nigh. We've taken out his field command, which has forced Silver to build another one, which he has done obviously far away from the front line. But for a brief moment here, Silver doesn't have the ability to train any elites. Not that it really matters, because we're not pressing our advantage. Chris has got his later stage units up. There's a Lord of Change there, a Greater Demon of Tzeentch. Looking horrific. I don't like it when units have wings like that aren't in resting position. I'm so picky, it's unfair. The Elder's slowly moving forward, but Wraith has got the troops up now to support himself, and he's not too concerned. Mats is now also pushing through. But our army has died. Chris showing why everybody fears him. He's currently attacking on 2 fronts and still managing to control everything all right. Bloody annoys the rest of us. Super Ginger's base is quite interesting. He only has 1 chapel barracks. Super Ginger, if you are watching, are you aware that you can train units from the chapel barracks and then move them into the orbital relay? You don't have to train them directly from it. Because at the minute, your ability to train units is virtually nil. Oh, there we are. He's building a second one. At 23 minutes in, Super Ginger gets his 2nd chapel barracks up. I'm being so derogatory. I'm so sorry, Ginger. Eldar moving through the middle, but it's a bit of a stalemate at the moment while everyone rebuilds and respecs. I've got Mars Pattern Command, but of course you need to have a captured relic as the guard in order to train a Baneblade. So I have got a Mars Pattern Command, but all I can get out of it are the fancy alternative Lehman Russ tanks. I can't actually get a Baneblade. And you can only ever get 4 Lehman Russes as a maximum. This one is what's known as a command tank. Super Ginger's just alerting everyone to the fact that he has that relic there, and after 25 minutes they still don't even know that the relic next to their base isn't held by them. Which gives us a bonus. Wraith finally manages to press out and take that relic, working very well. His Silver's Basilisk support is far over on the north, which is why we've never had to deal with it. But the Eldar are coming in with fire prisms now. They're anti-tank tanks. They're very good anti-tank tanks as well, actually. Silver's constant Basilisk support. But the one thing that Basilisks do in any engagement is ensure that your infantry become next to useless as soon as they are deployed. There's some spot-on tactical awareness from myself. I think we're going to win this by taking down Boo and Wraith. I said Wraith, I meant Malekith. Because Silver has got enough turrets to make it so that attacking him is very much like Vietnam, in that you're going to make no ground and he's going to constantly be attacking you as you try and move through his base. So that's never going to go anywhere. And of course attacking Chris is futile because he's very good. But the one way that we can crush Chris is by taking out his team. And once he becomes outnumbered, he has no hope. And so I suggest that everybody move north, and I will hold the southern line, which I feel confident I'll be able to do, especially given that the enemy's not tried to attack here. So my troops move up into a defensive position. I send out more tanks. We build a nice little line. Our Cassequins are up on the hill there. We're getting ready to train infantry, as you can see. And look how wonderfully spaced those buildings are. It looks like they're actually designed. It's nice. That one in particular looks good because it looks like a bunker on a hill. Because all of the guard buildings are bunkers. But we're just getting guard command up. The guard can teleport or can drop troops from their mechanized commands, which is why I'm building more of them up on the hill here. But the instruction was very much for Mats to move his forces north and support Malekith, support Wraith and Super Ginge. But unfortunately, as he starts moving north, he's intercepted by Chris and Boo Guy, who have a little ambush force in the middle there, and it works wonders. Wraith drops in his own Chaos Lords to try and counter it, to try and get Mats' troops forth, but unfortunately it kicks off the battle too early before we are 3 versus 2. Malekith is massing sisters up there en masse. Celestian Sisters of Silence. He's got millions of them. Getting up a side tower. Psyker chained forever on the top of that tower. We've got Hydras in support now as well. And the guard onslaught begins. Get them ready. They will be needed. Now they beat the ambush force, but not before taking great loss. Ginge amassing troops on the hill, getting them ready to drop as well. He's got some predators over there preparing. On the south here you can see Silver is also getting troops ready. Those will almost certainly be dropped on someone shortly. And Malekith's force now moves us out with the Basilisk constantly supporting. His land raiders are moving in. And it, as I say, it triggers the battle that we'd hoped would be 3 versus 2 on Malekith's base. It now becomes 3 versus 2 the other way in the middle of the map where it won't matter. And the war of attrition continues. No one gaining ground, everyone just losing troops. Silver's forces now moving off into the mechanized command, getting ready to drop. He's now completely moved his base away from here, which means he doesn't care if he loses this section, as it's nothing to him now. This is his base now. There's the hidden Eldar base over there. Oh my god, getting ready.
What are your orders?
We've got loads of power, hardly any requisitions, the way it always goes. Our Leman Rusters are now fully upgraded and stand ready. We've got turrets dropped behind them and Hydras ready. No one's getting through there without some long-range troops. Mats has got forces on the hill above us. But the battle again grinds down as forces get into a little bit of a stalemate, really. Malekith's troops not deciding to sit this one out and letting the Eldar and Chaos deal with it. With the Eldar's ridiculous artillery unit, which shoots webs. It's the most peculiar unit in this game. I don't get what these are meant to be. And as you can see, they do virtually no damage to this Baneblade. Now, that is an absolutely pitiful amount of damage. I personally think they're one of the worst artillery units. But maybe because they fire quicker than everyone else, that's maybe what the point of it is. I don't know. The damage he's sustaining there is coming mostly from the Wraithwalkers in melee. The Basilisk cannons, you can see, are supporting as well. But then I suppose the constant slog of the dropping of the webs is actually at least doing some damage. Got a couple of fire prisms behind our line. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I'm yawning. It's very early in the morning and I went to bed very late. Pretty sure the Iron Lady only ever slept for 4 hours a night. That's one of the few facts I actually know about her. 4 hours sleep. I'm going to regret that tomorrow when I'm at work, though. I can tell you that for now. Right. I'm just waiting for my guardsmen to be ready. There's no point trying to run them. The game's... This is the main reason. I get asked... it becomes a joke, actually. Chris has turned it into a joke. That my troops always drop into the battle late. But the reason I always drop my troops is because the game's pathfinding is utter dog crap. And it can take years to get troops to move in straight lines, and they often then go in a proper little convoy and just get picked off as they arrive one-on-one. Whereas if you can just drop them all, the sheer mass of them normally means they at least kill something. You pay for it in ridiculous odds, but at least something dies. Which is the hope. Oh, Silver's got some Ogryns up there. More mechanized commands and a Baneblade support. A second field command going up. He's probably got troops in all of these, just awaiting someone to drop them on. And as I say, the stalemate ensues. Our 3 versus 2 plan became nothing. And now we wait. Super Ginge, his troops, I imagine... Yes, are standing ready. My army now stands pretty much ready.
Who summons me?
And we were going to drop into Bugai. Right. Ginge will be ready soon, and we'll drop en masse into Bugai's base with a hope to absolutely nullify the Eldar. Because, as you will note, the Eldar are one of the few people... what are the Eldar? Bugai is one of the only people... If we swap to Bugai's perspective, actually... Oh, there we are. And you can't go backwards.
Enemy spotted. What are your orders?
If we swap to Bugai, you can tell that he's got a couple of webway gates there and there, but his whole base is in his base, unlike everyone else. Now, of course, he can teleport his buildings, but it takes quite a while, and it takes an awful lot of micromanagement. So I'm not too concerned that he might be doing that. Now, he will obviously be able to run away, but losing his whole base for a short time will cripple him substantially, one would hope.
Marine squad deployed.
So this is what Ginger's got going on. He's got his orbital relay almost full. Predator's not... Most Predators are going to have a real trouble getting out of there. He should move them already in anticipation. Wraith is fending off an attack at the moment. Oh, the map has changed to a grey. Oh, that's interesting. With certain players, the map is grey rather than white. Right, there we are. The attack on the main base begins. I'll swap it back to my perspective. Silver dropped all of his guardsmen in on Wraith. He drops them in when he's got no support, though, unfortunately, which means the turrets alone will probably handle them. But that's not necessarily the point. With the confusion caused by his guardsman drop, then Malekith can move up. But the Eldar are moving over in on Mats, who has got a Shadow Sword Titan Destroyer out, which is a decimating weapon. Super Ginger's moving tanks over to support, but as Chris also drops some troops in there, but Chris almost certainly has troops in support. Yes, he does. He doesn't go anywhere without leaving a backup army. And unfortunately, it means Ginge loses... All of his tanks get tied up. And this is where I shall come under great fire. So obviously, you may note my guardsmen now stand ready in my towers. And we prepare to drop on Bugai. Now, Bugai's base is tiny, and I get the ability to show up a town, hidden buildings from my field commands. Which, as you can see, we then do. Super Ginge drops his troops over on that side. And then within moments, Valkyrie Command brings the full fury of the 247th Brasidius Secundus Regiment down on the Eldar. Guardsmen appearing everywhere. Now, we absolutely smash in terms of the drop. Our troops just arrive en masse very quickly. But unfortunately, Chris then retaliates in kind, drops all of his forces. So we do take the Eldar base down, and you can tell the way that the inflection in my voice that this drop on the enemy base goes poorly. As we are dropping, Mats then moves troops through the middle, but our tanks are still staying in support. But we have completely got Bugai base banged to rights. All of our guardsmen on the hill, though, have lost, and the Defiler continues on with the Obliterators in support. The Defiler is the hardest thing here to kill. And all of the Basilisk cannons that are just over here turning around shooting me, as you can see. With the Defiler dropping in support as well, my guardsmen just get shredded. There's even a Titan on the other side of the ridge, which I didn't even realise until just now. So, our attack, whilst relatively successful on Bugai's base, does cost us our armies. And unfortunately, as you can tell here, Malekith, with our forces dropping on their base, Malekith drops on Ginger's base, and Ginge has nothing to support with. His entire army, his Predators were killed in the sort of defence of Wraith. And with all of his Space Marines now dropped in over here, he has nothing. So we have got Bugai banged to rights. I mean, he is... The only thing he's got now is that Elder Webway up there, the larger of the Webway gates. And I'm sure he probably ran a builder unit away. Yeah, there we go. He's rebuilding his base down there in that little gap. And at that moment, I then move the tanks up. The army, the mechanized division of Brasidius moves in on Silver's old base. But we take Bugai's main base out. So for a brief moment, Bugai is slightly muted. But Silver moves in and supports as well. So it's a successful drop, but it costs us Super Ginger's base. Now, interestingly, at this point, I should say... no, I'll hold on to the end to say that. Obviously, Super Ginger's base is getting annihilated now. I can't see that he's going to come back from this. And given that I was in the game, and that might tell you something. Now our attack on Silver's old base goes relatively well. We push through. The turret's causing us some grief though. But my AA Hydras are giving ranged attack. But we are losing. We're taking a lot of damage. Basilisk support dropping in there. Matz's army is moving off north to try and just hold the Eldar who are moving in the middle there. Wraith is preparing because, of course, what's attacking Ginge? Or is he? That's the question. Silver's guardsmen then drop in on our tanks to distract us, draw our attention. But the Griffin mortar tank does some nice damage there, and the Basilisk, of course, disrupting the guard. The Hydras, though, taking a lot of damage. The Griffin and the Hydras don't have very much armour, and the turrets have done enough to bring down the Russes. So we're 3 battle tanks down. Ginge mentions that we've got to take out their artillery. It's a nightmare. The Eldar moving in on Mats. We're closing down on the end now. The guardsman troops that I have drop in on Silver's old base. Behind enemy lines.
It's no good. We can't hold them.
Where's the Cassacrans when you need them? Drop the Cassacrans! Defiler's dropping in. But Wraith sent his own Defiler. We've got some support. Our guardsmen quite nicely actually clean up the back of Silver's base. There's hidden bloody Chaos Marines killing us there. It takes us a while to show them up. Wraith has sent in 2 Defilers actually, which is nice, but our Basilisks at the moment are supporting attacking that Defiler there. There we are, the Marines get shown up. The Basilisk disrupting them. Our tanks are still surviving though and sending barrages over the mountaintop. The Space Marines and Super Ginge, or the Super Ginge Space Marines, loses his main base. As you can see, I'm completely out of requisition. And I just don't understand how. I don't get this bloody game. We cycle through. Most people are pretty lingering on the low. Wraith has 3,000 somehow, and getting on 4,000. Mats and I have got virtually none. Silver's got 8,000. Good God. The weak fight back. There we are. With Wraith support, we take out that eastern edge of Silver's base in its entirety. So Bugai has lost his main base, and he's had to rebuild further away. And Silver's now lost his original base. Because obviously Super Ginge has lost his base and has had to rebuild further away as well. But then the attack on Wraith comes, and of course Wraith's army is now in the south. Malekith has got his own Titan out. Never bodes well. And Saint Celestine is moving in, taking out his turrets. But now there's Chaos in there, there's Sisters of Battle in there. There's Silver moving up with support sentinels. As our army then begins to move north itself.
We've won.
Dropping in probably tech priests, yeah. Just trying to claim some requisition here, just moving troops in for the recce. Our army can then focus north. So it's just a case of can Wraith's base with Super Ginge support hold this northern gap. The support sentinels push right past the enemy line. Super Ginge and Wraith sending me all the requisition that they can. Super Ginge has got some Space Marines there. Now the Leman Russes are moving in on the support sentinels. But they haven't got plasma side turrets, so they're not doing as much damage. My guardsmen at the moment are just recouping and retraining. They just die in seconds if they go in too early. But we've got the listening post, so we can transport them back out and drop them somewhere. So we're transporting them back to our base so that we can prepare. We need to send troops up to support. That was why I sent in the Tech Priest engine series. The Imperial Guard can transport troops between buildings without instantly. There's about a 5-second delay. Wraith Walker's base now also goes down. More support sentinels stream in from Silver. Bugai's managed to rebuild his base, but Bugai has been heavily neutered, and we don't see too much of him now. Just the odd tank in support. And our army moves further north, so Silver has completely lost that southern base. We now have complete control of that southern section. And our guardsmen drop in to support up in there. But there's just so much. Oh, good God. It's an instant massacre. Everybody targets the Land Raider, and we do some acceptable damage. Experienced guardsmen getting massacred. I dropped them too soon. The Space Marines have lost their contingent army, their backup army, as Chaos drops in on them as well. And it becomes very much Mats and I in a last-ditched attempt. But we're not out yet. The Kasakrin elite squad still stands ready, and the Basilisk command is giving all we have. They find Super Ginger's second base. Titan's now fully upgraded with both of its possible turret upgrades. Support Sentinels pushing through Mats's base, but they're getting hit by the Basilisks and they're not enjoying it. Super Ginger gave me no resources, thanks to that. Malekith's army has arrived in support. The Sentinels are desperately trying to come for me. In fact, I believe Silver even wrote a message saying, "I'm coming for you, Galid." They get tied up on the buildings. Oh, there you go. There's his message. Oh, the Eldar are here, sorry. They're dropping a Titan fire down on us.
As you wish, so shall
We've got units over there, but it means naught. He's desperate to take down our Basilisks. And there we go. Ginger's actually defeated. We lose a Basilisk. But the Psyker takes out one of the support Sentinels. And the Basilisk fire deals with the others. Guardsmen preparing, but it's no use. Somehow the Basilisk saw that. Oh, of course, because the support Sentinels are there. Our turrets bring them down. We only lose 2. But our guardsmen get hit. His Basilisk support now just hitting our base. As the enemy moves in on Mats's base, you can see that we've lost. I imagine. But there we are to deal with the Basilisk cannons. My Kasakrin squads move in. The priests provide invulnerability. And the Kasakrin last stand is worthy of remembrance. With the benefit of being invincible, they massacre those Chaos Marines. They turn back on the Basilisks. But then they realise that the support Sentinels are the real trouble. They begin picking them off one by one. Still invulnerable at the moment. Laughing off the attacks of the support Sentinels. But Aliman Rus has moved up to support, and Malekith drops in to deal with the thorn in his side that are the Kasakrin units. His stormtroopers drop, akin to Kasakrin in fact. And now our forces go down. The Eldar move in on the south of our base. Mats has now lost his main base. Kasakrins are still bloody going though. Even in the darkest hour, our men can see the holy light of the Emperor. But, of course, it is over. And indeed, we are now but seconds away from... Oh, in fact, I'm deleting my buildings as we speak. Execute Order 48. Abandon the planet. All guardsmen retreat to the Hyperspace Command. Oh, they don't use hyperspace, do they? They go through the wall. And there we go, and I'm down. And briefly thereafter, Matt will follow suit. Oh, and Wraith still had his desecrated stronghold there. But he too, I imagine, will quit any second now. And then we can see the stat screen. There we are, annihilation. Video for YouTube, Silver says, because I, of course, lost. Now, in the post-game, obviously, we chatted about the battle quite a lot. It was a nice back and forth, well fought between us all. But one of the reasons I was being so derisory towards Super Ginge is when Super Ginge's base was getting attacked, he didn't tell anyone, and obviously our armies dropped in on Bugai and we took out the bulk of his base, and then I immediately then retrained Imperial Guardsmen ready to drop somewhere else. And Ginge at this moment felt the need to not tell anybody that the enemy was actually in his base. Now, I appreciate it is on all of us to actually look around, but you're normally very, very, very focused on what you're doing, and you rely on messages and communication. And so when we had no idea that he was getting attacked, that certainly caused an issue. And also, of course, but the blame also lies with me. For when we actually did drop on Bugai, that was not a good idea. We should have waited, really. I mean, obviously, Wraith and Ginger's bases were under attack at that moment. And we could have better utilised our forces dropping them there. But we also just could have waited and seen anything else. Seen if there was anything else that we could have done. Sorry, I should have quit battle while I was saying all of that. So it came down to a combination of, obviously, Ginge losing, unfortunately, all of his forces and then the enemy attacking him. And then us dropping, I think, in the wrong place. We did take out Silver's base after that, but it was no hope. It was a back and forth, and as these games often go, it was a back and forth until someone made an error. In this case, it was us. And that was the cause of our loss. But as you can see, Silver got the top score, clinching it by quite soundly, actually. 103,000. Second was Bugar, 91. And then third, actually, following up was me with 90. So a solid third. Technology was highest. If we go under military stats, Silver killed the most with 640. Good lord. Following Chris with 533. Malekith lost the most, interestingly. Oh, no, Malekith lost the least, sorry. I forgot that that's the way that it does that. The most losses were myself, Guardsman Assaults. Malekith raised the most buildings, though, but the largest army size also was myself. Chris didn't lose a single building. Under resources, Silver and Bugai claimed everything between them. So there's all of the resources. And then finally, under the technology tab, as I say, I upgraded more units than anyone else, and I reinforced more units than anyone else, which gave me a vastly inflated technology score and led to my coming third in the stats. Under military, I was not third. I don't think. No, 3-7, 3-1. No, I was third. Yeah. Oh, interesting then. Chris with the highest military score. And there we are. So we lost. The combined might of the Witch Hunters, the Eldar, the Forces of Chaos, and the Imperial Guard were too much for the Guard, Marine, and Chaos. But it was damn good fun. Oh, I'm yawned again, right? Makes it sound like it wasn't. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really do enjoy Soulstorm. I'd love to do more videos of it. We've been playing it more recently, actually. But that was the last one that I actually saved for YouTube. But I do hope you've enjoyed it. Feedback, obviously, is very welcome. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think was the defining factor in the loss, and the reason for our ultimate demise. Now, do note, of course, that you've just seen that back with no fog of war. So there were a couple of times there at the beginning, actually, where I was looking at us thinking, why aren't we attacking? Why aren't we attacking? But of course, we had no idea what was in the fog of war. We had no idea at the very early outset of that game that there was a point where Mats and I were massively superior to Silver's forces, and we easily could have done a real dent into his base. But we had no idea what he had, and we didn't want to throw troops away. So the moral of the story, I think, is be more aggressive. But anyway, until we speak again, dear friends, Navar, Naden, Pedimad, Melonin, and farewell. And Ginge, I, of course, don't mean any ill will towards you, and I love you, really. Farewell!